What is going on? This is Black Apino, the Apple guy, and today I thought I would just make a short video on what type of media device you're going to use for creating uh, videos or photos. What's going to be the best that Apple has to offer versus what's the best that you can get for PC. Just kind of give you a price standpoint and the differences between the Macs versus the PCs as far as what you can get for a certain price versus what you can't get. And then I'll, just kind of show you basically what I have as well. And as you can see, we are going to start off with the Apple page first. As you can see, you have your MacBook Air, your Mac Pro, iMacs, iMac Pros, and we're going to basically exclude the MacBook and the MacBook Air because although they're good laptops, as far as video editing and photo editing, they're just not really, they don't really have the dedicated graphics that you would need to basically do any type of video editing on any type of level. Make sure you can use the MacBook Air for using iMovies and the MacBook for iMovies and doing light video editing and some photo editing. But as far as getting down to the real grits of it, they're really not. They really unperform. They don't really perform well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the MacBooks, the MacBook Pro, should I say, and then I'm just going to kind of show the differences between the various versions and what you should get versus what not to get. Now, the MacBook Pros are their top of the line. As you can see, we're looking at the 13-inch versions, and one will come with obviously the touch bar versus the one not having a touch bar. It really depends on how you feel about the touch bar. I mean, I messed with it at Best Buy. It's nice, but it's not something I actually ever would use because I'm so used to a keyboard. I would instinctively wise would never really go up to the top and hit, the touch bar. But as you can see, they obviously range in price from 13 to 2,000. Um, they're all Retina displays. They're gonna come with a dual core, and they're all gonna come standard with a solid state 8 gigs of RAM. They have an integrated graphics card and your various charging ports. So we're just kind of pretty much I'm just going to kind of go over why um, if you're doing any type of video editing and photo editing, why not to get the 13-inch versions of the MacBook Pro. One reason why is their Retina display. It's a pretty good Retina display. It gives you a 2560 by 1600 resolution, which is pretty good for a 13-incher. But when it comes to like say 4K and all that, which is natively 20 or 38 something by 2160, it just can't do that because it just really can't scale that. Especially 1080, it can do 1080 but not 4K. So say you're shooting a lot of video in 4K, which most people probably are, you're really gonna have a hard time trying to match that with this type of screen. Although it's a Retina display screen and it's a pretty good screen, but as far as being with 4K, it's just really not going to be up to par with that. And then as well as the processor, a dual core. On my previous Mac that I had, my iMac, I had a dual core, and was running Adobe Premiere Elements, and I was having a hard time with trying to keep the program running as well as doing any chop scenes, chopping up videos, and all that. Mostly because of my processor and the graphics card. Neither one of these have dedicated graphics card, which is something you're really going to want to use when it comes to any type of video editing, whether you're shooting something in 4K or 1080, when you need to like kind of chop it up and kind of place scenes here, place scenes there, and just kind of basically mesh it up, and then you have your audio that you kind of want to integrate into it. It makes it very hard to do that with a non-dedicated graphics card. Basically, it's going to draw most of its power from not only the graphics card itself, the integrated one, but as well as your hard drive. So although it does come with a solid state, integrated graphics is just not really up to par for when it comes to doing any type of graphics works. You might be able to get away with say doing like iMovies and doing short videos of that nature, then you can do that. I actually tried to Cinebench, or no, actually I actually Cinebenched my iMac, which had an Iris Pro. It was a 620, and at best I got was about 45 frames a second, which is decent for some video editing light. Do mean light video editing. It does a good job of that. But when it comes to shooting anything in 4K, 1080, especially at 60 frames or 30 frames, or at much higher frame rates, it's going to be very difficult with an integrated graphics card because it just doesn't have enough RAM power to draw on to give you that ease without your computer freezing on you. And it does make it very unresponsive to the program if you're using Adobe or Final Cut and you're trying to use that program and you're trying to cut and cease. It does tend to freeze up your program. So although they are good laptops, I really honestly could not recommend you using the 13-inch. Now you have the 15-inch, which obviously, as you can tell, they're all going to come with the integrated touch bar. These are going to be their high ends. They're more. This is basically their top end. So you're looking at 25, 24, and 28 respectively, and obviously they're going to come with a much better Retina display, obviously because it's a 15-inch screen, so it's going to be bigger. And then it's going to have a supported scale rate, as you can see, of 1920 by 1200. So you can do the 1080 as well as you can do 4K on it. It should be able to support it just like the 13-inch version, but the 15 is going to be a much better laptop because one, you get a quad core versus a dual core, so the quad core is a much faster processor, so you'll be able to run your programs much easier without having to worry about will my program freeze or crash on me. They do come with a 256 or a 512 depending on which one you get as far as the Max is concerned, which one you get, and you can configure it all the way up to a 2 terabyte on either one, although the price will probably set you pretty high up there. So I would probably just stick with the standard for now as it is, because you're going to get a pretty decent graphics card. On my previous Mac that I had before I exchanged it for the one I had now, I had the Radeon Pro 550 with 2 gigs, and again I did a Cinebench on that, and I was popping up about 84 frames per second, which is actually pretty good. And then I have the Radeon Pro 560 in the current Mac that I'm shooting this on now with 4 gigs, and I'm getting about 94 frames a second. So it's actually pretty good when it comes to chopping up 4K video and needing to edit it and stitch it up and to upload it to YouTube. It does a pretty good job. So I'm really going to have to go with, if you plan on getting a MacBook Pro, really go for the high end because it's going to be much easier to do any of your video editing, and it's just much easier that way versus you having to spend $1,300 on a 13-inch or going for the 13-inch starting at 12 to 2,000. You're not really going to get much other than beyond just the basics. But if you're just looking for just the basics when it comes to video editing, then yeah, I would opt in for any one of these or either one of these or all of these are fine for what they need to be done. Just depends on if you want the touchscreen versus the not touch bar. So with that, that's pretty much it when it comes to the Macs, or at least the MacBook Pros. Now when it comes to the desktops, I'm going to recommend, you've got 3 different iMacs. I'm going to go for the 21 inches because that's what I use. Obviously, if you're going to go for a 27-inch, then I'm going to recommend getting the iMac Pro because it's just pretty much the best when it comes to doing anything video editing wise, although it is expensive. You're looking at $4 grand. So the 27-inch, which is a 5K Retina, they come in at around $1,700 to $2,200. If you don't want to get an iMac Pro, then you want to still want a 27-inch, then I definitely would go for the Retina 5K. And pretty much any spec that you grab right now is pretty much going to be a pretty decent one. It won't have the same specs as, say, the Mac Pro or the iMac Pro, but it's pretty decent for what it gives you, especially at this price of $2,200. Yeah, that would be a good buy for actually any one of these. But if you only can afford like a 21-incher, this is where your money is. You really need to pay attention to what it is exact that you're planning on getting. The low-end model of the iMac is going to be the 21-inch at $1,000 or $1,100. It comes with a dual core, 8 gigs. It's going to come with this right here. This is what's pretty much going to make it very difficult for you to do any type of video editing or photo editing of any kind because of this hard drive is really slow, and I mean slow. And then you're going to have the benefit of an integrated graphics card, which again, if you're looking for bare basics, and by that I mean just bare basics for video editing of any kind, then again, there's nothing wrong with using it, especially if you're using iMovies. But if you plan on wanting to use like Adobe Premiere or Premiere Pro or Photoshop, then yeah, you're going to want to go for the a different model. Again, they're all pretty much going to be about the same. The low ends are pretty much going to be the same as most of the high ends as far as most specs wise. It's going to come with 8 gigs of memory. You can configure both the 16, which is pretty much what they all will be able to be configured to, except for the very high end, which allows you to do up to 32 gigs. And you'll be able to update to the Fusion drive, which pretty much comes standard on the high end one. But what you don't get on this one is you don't get the graphics card. With the second version, which is the one that comes with a quad-core 3.0 Intel 5, again, the specs are good, but then when you come down to the hard drive, it's a really slow hard drive. It's going to make it very hard for you to run any program, such as Adobe of any version, or Photoshop, or Final Cut, or even just those alone makes it very difficult because the hard drive is just your basic slow hard drive. Again, you don't get you can configure it to a terabyte Fusion drive or a 256 512 SSD, but you do get the benefit of the graphics card, which again I did a benchmark on this one. This was actually the one I had before I switched to the higher end version, which I'll explain later. I did a cine benchmark, and it was actually pretty decent. I mean, it gives you pretty decent frame rates per second, which is what you want. You want the highest you can get with the certain amount of money that you can afford is actually better versus the lowest amount, which basically just gives you basic decent graphics as far as what you need to video edit. Again, you can configure it as much as you can configure it to the Terabyte Fusion, but I've tried that myself as far as configuring it, and it comes out to about the same price as this for basically that. So if you're going to want a 21-inch, my advice would be to take the 3.4 quad core at 1500 with 8 gigs, and it does come with a terabyte Fusion drive, and it is going to come with a dedicated graphics card, or I'm sorry, discrete graphics card, 560, 4 gigs. And again, I did a cine benchmark on that one, and that one popped me out at around 92 to 94 frames per second. So, and I've uploaded 1 or 2 videos using this so far, and it does a pretty decent job. I'm not gonna lie, it is a really good laptop, or I'm sorry, desktop. And again, if you're looking for a 21-inch and you're looking for one, but you don't want the low end, but you want to get the best bang for your buck, this right here, the 21-inch 4K Retina display, their $1,500 one with a quad core and Radeon Pro 560 with 4 gigs of memory, that's definitely what I'm gonna tell you is your best bang for your buck. It's going to be should be able to handle just about anything you throw at it. 4K wise, 1080, any type of video editing or photo editing of any kind. You can run Photoshop with great ease, and you shouldn't have any issues with that. And that's my suggestion for the Apples if you're looking at getting an Apple. And when it comes to PCs, that's a little bit different because again, you're going to want to get a good laptop. If you want to get a good laptop that's going to give you both a dedicated graphics and a solid state. And although PCs are pretty good, usually when you tend to try to look for one, there's so many out there, it just breaks down in price. So if you just go basically by say solid state drives, then you've got a host of laptops depending on what you're looking at. So basically you're going to be looking for a laptop with a solid state that's going to have a dedicated graphics card, because again, a dedicated graphics card makes video editing so much more easier, especially if you're using a PC. Then you've got Windows Movie Edition or Windows Media, which can be sometimes a system hog, not too bad, but again, in combination with a dedicated graphics card and a solid state, it does make the video recording, the video editing much smoother. And as you can see, you have a host of solid state type laptops to get. Unfortunately, when it comes to it, you really need one with a dedicated graphics card. So you kind of have to kind of look around, and judging from where it starts at $349, I would stay away from the Chromebook because they're not really good at doing any type of video editing whatsoever. So you're basically going to probably start off at around $700 some odd dollars and up. And again, it depends on what it has in it, whether it's going to have a dedicated graphics card beyond just the regular solid state. And usually they probably won't. They'll probably have some type of an integrated either 640, 650, or a Iris Pro. Basically is what they'll have. And 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, as you can see, it's going to have a integrated graphics card 620. So again, you're going to be kind of needing to be mindful of what you're looking for, especially when it comes to PC, because it'll have half and half the stats. So it basically is good to look online, but you can go into your local Best Buy and just basically see what they carry. So we are going to go back out, and we're just going to basically look at just PC laptops in general. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see what we can find for around a set price. And this also goes the same for their desktops. It's pretty much going to be the same for PCs. The only difference is that you're going to end up having to buy a separate monitor. If you're going to buy a separate monitor, especially if you're getting a PC desktop, my suggestion would be you can get, like, there's a lot of 1080p monitors out there. I would suggest just getting a 4K monitor. They're not too much more expensive if you get a good one. So if you just basically look at Windows laptops, and then we click down here again, you're going to have a large assortment of basically everybody from Dell to HP to everyone else. So then what we're going to do is we're going to look basically down at the graphics card. The better the graphics card, the more it's going to cost you. So we'll start off with a 1050i and a 1050 because they're both good graphics cards. Um, a little bit expensive, but again, it depends on what it is you're looking for. These are going to be the most rounded laptops, basically as far as what you can find. As you can see, these are gaming laptops. This one right here at 649, 256 solid state, but it does have a pretty good, decent graphics card for around 649. This one is also a gaming laptop, but it's a hybrid drive. So basically, what that means is it comes with a terabyte kind of like an external but internal, and then it's going to have a solid state for basically the majority of the programs that it uses. So again, you're going to get the 8 gigs of memory. You're going to get a dual drive, which basically means you're getting a slow hard drive with a 8 gigs of flash drive. So basically, it's kind of a hybrid too. Again, it's not bad, but again, you got that slow hard drive. So again, with PCs, you're going to be looking at basically starting at around 649, and it just tends to go up. So be mindful of that if you're looking at getting a PC. Although 2-in-1 or the hybrid drives are nice, usually sometimes you'll just get like a regular terabyte, and then the hybrid drive would be not very large. So I would stay with a solid state, and then basically just kind of go from there. As you can see, some starting around $699, $719, $1299, 13. That's a dual drive is what they're actually called. It just basically means you got a hard drive and a solid state. That's basically what this model, or not the model, this model is a dual drive. It's just something different. And again, you're looking at spending starting around $700, and it can go as high as $1,700 depending on what you're looking for, what it needs to do. Obviously, the Surface Books are around a little bit higher, but unfortunately, they don't really do well for video editing. They just don't. I don't think they really have the right graphics. The graphics cards are integrated, so it makes it a little bit tough to do any type of hardcore stuff. You'd be best to sticking off with a regular PC. Might as well, or you can go with a gaming one. Although gaming laptops are a little bit heavier. But my suggestion would be to at least find a decent laptop, whether it's Dell, HP, Acer, or whoever, but with a solid state and basically a decent graphics card. And again, like I said, you're going to be looking at around $600, $700, and it just tends to go up high. So that's basically what you're going to be looking for when it comes to a PC versus getting a Mac as well. Either one would be fine. It's not gonna be any different. It's just price wise, the Macs can be more expensive because they're a lot more expensive, and they're pretty much good for multimedia, as you can see from what I was showing. And then PCs, we have a wide variety to choose from. But my suggestion would be to get a solid state, because solid states are going to be a much more efficient hard drive, especially when you're running system hub programs like Adobe Premiere or Pro or Photoshop. So that's going to be my advice when it comes to looking for a PC. So again, this is Black Apino, the Apple Guy. Thanks for watching my video. Feel free to browse and check out my other videos. And as always, like and subscribe, hit the notification button, and have a nice day.